Kreativwirtschaft und Verwaltung. Wir begrüßen jetzt auf der Bühne eine finnische Designerin, die in der Verwaltung tätig ist, die dort arbeitet und die uns erzählen wird, was ihre Rolle genau in der Verwaltung ist. Es geht um ein Innovationslabor, es geht um den Zusammenschluss von Designerinnen, finnischen Designerinnen, die in der finnischen Regierung oder für die finnische Verwaltung arbeiten. Riikka ist Designerin in einem finnischen Staatsunternehmen, das einen Großteil des Immobilienvermögens der Republik Finnland verwaltet. Das Unternehmen, und Riikka kann mich dann vielleicht noch korrigieren, falls ich das falsch ausspreche, heißt Senati. Und sie wird uns erzählen, was ihre Rolle dort ist, was das mit Nachhaltigkeit und Innovation zu tun hat. Welcome to the stage, Riikka. And we're looking forward to your slot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I will start the share. And hopefully you can see my slides. Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for having me and giving me this slot to tell a little bit of the Finnish experiences from being a designer within the Finnish government. So my name is Riikka Manninen, and I work as an advisor to Senat Properties, which is the real estate owner and developer of the governmental buildings of the Finnish government. So today you will hear some stories from my background working in Senatti as a designer. And this kind of will give an overall view. I am a generalist and I have studied several different things, but I think the design background is something that is really visible in my work. And today we will definitely look a little bit more focused into the co-creation of sustainability changes within the real estate sector that Senat Properties works within. And then to give a little bit more of an idea who is talking at the moment. So my background, I have divided my work role in kind of two separate units, but of course they do get definitely combined in the way we work. So firstly, I work in the workplace unit of Senat Properties, where we develop the way Finnish governmental workers work in the different work environments that we have. And the other half of my work, I do sustainability-related development projects that will take the kind of sustainability impact of my organization further, and we will do better environmental impacts for the future. And yes, in this slide, you can also see a little bit more on my educational background, a bit more on my work background, and some pictures of the projects I have been involved with. And if we work in similar themes or we're interested in similar aspects of developing the work life, I'm happy to connect in LinkedIn. So there is also that information. But let's go and hear a little bit more of the organization that I work for. So Senat Properties is under the Ministry of Finance. And what we basically do is we take care of the state's properties, the different kinds of built national assets and the cultural heritage that we have in Finland. So basically, it is about developing the workplaces of the Finnish governmental workers and kind of collaborating together to create the best possible ways of working for now and for the future. And we have a little bit more than 8,500 buildings at the moment in our portfolio, so we're quite a big player. But to the actual content of the presentation today. So I have three different separate units, and mostly we will focus today on hearing a story about the governmental innovation lab that is called Työ 2.0 lab. And this stands for Work 2.0 Lab. So this is kind of like an innovation unit that was created to renew the way we work within the government. And then two a bit more kind of tinier slots, I will explain more on how, as a designer, one can aim to create culture changes within large organizations using the design background, and then very shortly give a brief introduction on how the public sector designers are collaborating in Finland. So a few kind of information about networks where I have been active in. And yes, what is this Work 2.0 Lab? This actually started already in 2019. I will tell the timeline of this innovation lab very soon, but first a bit context why we started to create such an innovation lab for the Finnish government. So as we all know, current societies, groups of people, we are facing huge challenges. These are sometimes called as, for example, wicked problems. And these kinds of challenges require new kinds of collaboration, especially within governmental and public sector organizations. So why we saw that this lab was important was that overcoming or creating even some kinds of solutions for these kind of modern kind of intertwined problems was through cross-governmental collaboration and creating places of work where we can do this kind of phenomenon-based collaboration and even pool resources to kind of pursue common goals within the kind of public sphere. So this innovation lab was created to promote this kind of work and to facilitate this kind of collaboration. And very shortly, what we were looking into changing within the way that the government works. So here on the slide, you can see, I'm not going to go too much into how the traditional governance has been working, and then there has we've been also discussing to kind of this frog leap from the traditional ways of governance to creating more work culture that you can see here under the enabling governance. So these are the themes that we aim to kind of nudge within the Finnish governmental workers. So there has been themes such as being more self-managing within different kinds of theme-based teams across the organizational boundaries. There has been a lot of work that we did around for example, co-creation. Also the design of the space itself was created so that it can kind of enhance possibilities for co-creation. We have done many things within a kind of innovation ecosystem development, so kind of educational programs for the governmental workers and how to work around that. We've worked with, for example, kind of these kind of themes such as freedom and self-direction and curiosity. So very kind of normal themes for someone who comes from a creative background, but maybe not so visible in the kind of public sector and governmental sphere. And then very shortly, the story of the lab, how it came about and where the development is right now. So early 2019, we started to create this lab, and we had a kind of this group of development or oriented public sector and governmental workers who wanted to create something new together, and we started to have this kind of co-creation process on what could we do together. And my background is in design, so we have used service design on many steps along the way of the lab's development. So we were using service design to create the concepts, kind of the space and the services. Then kind of later in late 2019, we had a testing period and we opened the lab in kind of mid-December 2019. And as we all know, COVID happened, we had the pandemic, and therefore we had kind of like an on-off period for the lab when it was open, and sometimes it wasn't. So in this kind of this hybrid way of working also created kind of opportunities for us to look into kind of like this virtual work environment for the lab and its network. So we had some experiments within like virtual spaces that could be used for collaboration. And then we also had a service design project that looked into kind of the future of the innovation lab. Could we potentially have like a nationwide network of similar innovation labs in Finland? And then this innovation lab is, at this time, it was located in the center of Helsinki, and it kind of had, let's say, this kind of business as usual period that lasted a bit more than a year. And I would say that somewhere around the fall of 2022 was when we started to kind of plan the next steps, because we had found out that since this was a partnership model that was created to kind of keep the innovation lab going, we were noticing that we had a bit of difficulties in kind of finding the partners for the next stage. So we had a lot of scenarios of how we would move forward with the innovation lab. And then in the end, we found a good solution in what is called Pasila, 10 minutes from the center of Helsinki, still within Helsinki. So we created kind of like a streamlined operational model for the innovation lab, and now it is located in Pasila. But here a little bit of how it actually looked when we were in the center of Helsinki and when there was the kind of business as usual period for this innovation lab. We had a lot of different kinds of events and different kinds of phenomenon-based projects kind of had their home base in this lab. And as one example, we, for example, created this Sustainability Week event concept for the government of Finland, where we were discussing and showcasing also the different sustainability work that was happening within the government, and we've had it 2 times now. And yes, kind of like a more focused actions now is taking place in the Työ 2.0 Lab's new kind of like a little bit smaller concept. So we are now in Pasila, as I said, and the space is a bit smaller than what you saw in the previous pictures. But what it still offers is definitely a platform for governmental workers of Finland to kind of get a space, but also a mindset to work in new ways. And for example, like this, like mentioned, the phenomenon-based ecosystems can have their own kind of like a hotspot in this lab space still within Pasila to kind of get their projects going and so forth. But definitely the service concept is more streamlined at this stage, at least. And if you're ever in Helsinki, we can definitely take you to see the lab. Okay, so some learnings from the journey of creating this lab for Finland. So we had a lot of big aims when we were creating this concept and kind of developing it through the years. So what we did find that dismantling these kind of silos within the government, it is definitely not easy work. And when you're aiming to create lasting networks and ecosystems within the governmental sphere that would kind of be prioritized with all the kind of everyday hassles of working within the government, this is definitely not an easy task. And this lab was able to facilitate and orchestrate this kind of work for, especially when we had the kind of the biggest phase in the Helsinki city, and that's when we had the most kind of resources. We also got some research funding to work around these themes. And what is true with innovation labs, as we have been looking into them for quite many years now, they tend to not last forever. And also we were able to create this particular lab only as an experiment. And therefore we had to kind of discuss with partners over and over again how we're going to continue, but also show the impact. I think showcasing impact is very important, but sometimes also a bit problematic to kind of show all the impact you're having with such work. And then Finland is facing economic difficulties due to several factors at the moment. So it is true that this kind of work is, I would say, somehow can be easily seen that it's not as important when there is kind of difficult times within a country. So we have seen that at this point it is not so easy to go big with the work of this innovation labs. But maybe, as I'm writing here in the last bit, maybe in the future we can kind of go back and kind of start building again bigger service portfolio for the innovation lab. So some things currently are in the back burner mode, but definitely there's like networks that were created that still live on, and there are certain services and event concepts that are still ongoing. So a bit more streamlined version, but definitely the themes are still going onward in Finland. And then we're going to hop a little bit away from the innovation lab story and two shorter introductions, first into creating and accelerating sustainability transitions as a designer working for a big organization. So this is just a tiny case study on how to utilize the design background in creating whatever change one might be working with. I'm working with sustainability themes. So here in this case, I was using kind of these participatory design methods and processes to create new kind of design guidelines on circular economy and later also carbon neutrality in the processes that we work with in my organization. So already in 2020, we knew that we wanted to get better process design on how circular economy should be applied to our processes. So I had co-creation projects with experts and also internal staff on how circular economy will impact our business. And then from those ideas, kind of like an ideation project turned into a design guideline creation project with a few of our partners. So we had different participatory processes to create kind of design guidelines of how to kind of implement circular economy principles, but also carbon neutrality themes better into our processes around workplace design. And then in the past years, there has been a lot of kind of like training, follow-up, and kind of continuous development around these guidelines. But as in the headline, I'm kind of asking whether we should use the stick or carrot approach when we're kind of trying to bring forward sustainability themes within the government. I think design background helps in kind of utilizing both approaches. And maybe this will lead into a bigger impact in the future. So here you can see some kind of ideation workshops where we're doing a bit more like foresight processes blended with the design approaches on how to ideate the next steps for kind of sustainability actions for my organization. So yes, diverse approaches are definitely needed to be able to create sustainability kind of cultural change within organizations. Another example is this sustainability accelerator program that we have done now once in my organization, and we're currently planning and starting to implement the second phase of this kind of bottom-up process where we're helping our employees and our partners to kind of give their ideas on how to be more sustainable in the future, and then helping to implement these ideas to our practices. And then lastly, very quick overview on how the public sector designers are collaborating to create changes within Finnish government. And then we have this kind of bigger public sector design network within Finland that is called Julkismuotoilijat. And this, I think, is a good benchmark case for other countries too. It's kind of created already in 2017 out of kind of a small group of active members, and then it grew quite fast actually to create this over 500 member network that it is today. And within this network, there's weekly meetings, different kinds of events and seminars to kind of keep the discussion going on how to use design better and kind of in more kind of in better ways within the kind of public sphere. And there's some pictures of different events where, for example, I have been active in hosting. And then kind of like a subgroup from the previous network, there's been this active designers for environment peer network working already since 2021. So this is designers and public sector workers who are working with design, who are also working with sustainability. So a bit more focused kind of, let's say, even niche network to combine sustainability practices to design approaches. And also we're doing different kinds of events, but also testing new methods, how to apply them better. And there's a few links you can follow if you're interested in our work within this Designers for Environment network. And that is it. That's my quick overview on these 3 different topics. Hopefully you found it interesting. And as said, I'm open for any questions and comments now or in the future. Here's my contact information, and you can also find me through LinkedIn. Thanks once more for having me.
Thank you, Riikka. Miriam, do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much at first. And stop sharing the screen so we can see you a bit better. Actually, I have a question. So I'm interested in who initiated the Innovation Lab or who had the idea to start such a case.
So there was this network that was renewing, kind of already taking forward the same themes that I talked in the beginning of the presentation. And within that kind of core team, they had an idea to maybe like go bigger. So the themes had already been there, and they had already been doing, for example, events around kind of changing the work culture within the Finnish government. But this was now the first time when there was the idea that let's make it into kind of like a hotspot where all these like-minded people can meet. And it wasn't not just for definitely the kind of development-oriented public sector and governmental workers of Finland. It was also kind of to get an easy access space for other people to come in and maybe have those discussions around the themes that the Innovation Lab was trying to put forward. So kind of like a tiny core team of very devoted individuals that created the kind of initial start, but then it grew quite fast, which was really nice.
Okay, cool. And maybe another question, how many people or units were involved? Is it like can you say a number of people who worked for the Innovation Lab?
Yeah, so we had the partnership model in the beginning when we were in the center of Helsinki. So there was always around 10-ish partnership organizations that were involved within the kind of like organizing, and also they were involved with funding the Innovation Lab, and it functions too. but now we're kind of in a different model where the partnership model is not active at this point. But in terms of the numbers of people that we reached, it was open for many years. So we did reach a really good chunk of people from within the Finnish public sector and government. And it was really nice to see that there was a really wide range of organizations that were very active in. It was free to use for the governmental workers of Finland. So there was, yeah, very big variety of different kinds of players and workers that came there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So, Claudia, do you have a question?
Yes. Can you tell us about like an example of a topic that you were working on? I remember when we spoke for the first time, you were telling me, for example, about this project where you were working on making jobs in the government CO2 neutral. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, there has been a lot of different kinds of projects during the years, and these, of course, still exist, where we're working on different sustainability themes within the Finnish government. There is still an active network that is still aiming to reduce the negative impacts of our everyday work within the government workers, but carbon neutrality is still it is definitely still a goal. But I would say, and what I would maybe highlight at this point, there has been a lot of like historical analysis in my presentation, but we still have many nice things going on under this umbrella. I would highlight that we still have this, maybe the translation would be like an ecosystem school that is still ongoing within the umbrella of the Työ 2.0. So within these different phenomenon-based projects within the government can apply, and it's an educational program that has different elements that can help these kind of innovation ecosystems move forward to bigger impact. So this is still an ongoing kind of like an educational program where you can apply and then you get help. So I think this is maybe the biggest kind of service that is still left from the original service package that we had within the Työ 2.0 lab. So within that, there's already been many kind of cycles of this program. So within that, there has been many phenomenon-based kind of ecosystem projects that deal with social sustainability, but also ecological sustainability.
And have been like the results, there have been some results, I guess, of the innovation lab already. Have they been implemented? Like, are they put into process, like in the government now at the moment?
Everything that has been developed within these programs, it is the real workers working on real aspects of their work. So when we were doing when we had the experimentation periods of the lab, we always kind of had to make kind of this impact analysis of where we are and what kind of projects there has been kind of being developed within the lab. So within those kind of experimentation pilot years, we have a lot of kind of documentation on what kind of projects were taken forward within the lab's kind of innovation ecosystem. But now we're in this kind of like I said, kind of like a smaller concept. So right now we're not doing such a hardcore analysis of all the projects that are being worked at the lab. So, but I would say a short answer to the question is that yes, it is real governmental workers working with the real projects that they have on their table. But also we wanted to create a kind of also a place for this kind of seedlings. So there's always been some kind of like new things coming up. So of course there might be some projects that have been developed within the lab that might die out in the end, but I feel like that is not a problem at all. It's just kind of like a natural process when you're working with new ideas and innovation and kind of new ways of doing things.
Yes, that's true. One more question. The people who worked in the cross lab or who were part of the innovation lab, especially the people who work for the government, was it like a voluntary thing or was it part of their job?
Yeah, there was the core organizations who had made a kind of an agreement to work with this. So within those core organizations, it was definitely a part of everyone's who was active, especially in the core team. It was part of their job. But then there was a lot of I would say there was a lot of events that came in from different parts of within the government that also just wanted to kind of try to do things in their different environments. And we also had, and we still have in a little bit in a new service model, we have this kind of facilitation service. So we're kind of sharing facilitation services within the government. So there's still kind of many ways that people can do the same things today as we did in the kind of more active phase of the innovation lab. But yes, I would say most of it was kind of definitely a core part of their jobs. But as said, right now we are facing a little bit kind of an economic kind of like a difficult period within Finland. So this kind of time for innovation, time for a little bit more like free testing of things, it is more constrained at the moment. So you can definitely see that even though it is still definitely okay, but I would say it's not as easy right now in Finland right at this point.
And we all know Finland as for us at least, it's the country of design, for me at least. Which role play designers within the government?
Yeah, that is a good question. We have seen a kind of rising trend of designers working within, I would say, government, but maybe even more within also public sector. So, for example, the cities have been quite open in opening or employing designers to new positions, but also creating design teams within the government. So, I would say there has been a big trend in this realm, and that's why we have seen such an active network of public sector designers, because there has been, I would say, some kind of even a boom of using design within public sector of Finland. So it is definitely kind of like service design being implemented. So it is different from what the Finnish design has been known for before. But I would say we are in a good position right now in Finland in the way that design has been used in public sector and governmental development. But there is still a long way to go. But we do have a really good start over here in Finland for that.
So there are many designers in the public sector, and you said like their main focus is service design. So, for example, what do they do? For example, like what are they working on? What could be an example? Like, for example, yeah, I don't know. Do you have an example for me what they're working on?
Yeah, so we had the tiny network of designers working with sustainability themes, but I think I would say probably biggest chunk works with customer experience development or different kind of aspects with kind of digital products, digital customer experience, and different services. I mean, this is what government and public sector does, is that they provide a big chunk of services that has not maybe always been developed in a customer oriented or a human centered way. So there has been definitely, this is not just a Finnish trend. This trend has been seen quite in many countries, that designers can provide many many new kind of new ways of developing these services so that they serve the purpose better, but also in a more efficient way. So I would say this is the most normal way that designers are employed to the public sector and the government.
Interesting.
It
Miriam.
is interesting. So thank you very much, Riikka. I will definitely have a look at the public sector design network. I think we will even tell the people here at our state that there's such a network, so they can have a look at your work, what you're doing, maybe even join your events and get connected with you. So it was so nice having you here. I wish you all the best. And thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having
much.
me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Riikka.
Thank you.
Many greetings to Finland.
Over to you too.
Thank you. So bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.